Hey there, toy collector friends and Transformers fans alike. Welcome back to the channel. I'm the Triple TC, that's the time travelling toy collector, and this is another entry into the Studio Series 86 sub-range. In this instance, it's Studio Series 86-16, which is Arcee, as she appeared in the 1986 animated Transformers the movie. Before we get into too much else, just to say thank you very much for watching the video and linking and clicking and all the rest of it. And if you could just do one more click and like this video, that would be hugely appreciated. And whilst we're talking about such clickages, it would also be really appreciated if you could drop a subscription to the channel. If you like all things Transformers, Doctor Who, Battlestar Galactica, Star Wars, Space 1999, G.I. Joe, for example, then stick around, have a look around the channel. There will be something here that wets your whistle, tickles your fancy, and all those other peculiar descriptions. In the meantime, thank you very much for being here. As I've said, this is Studio Series 86-16, and it's Arcee. Now, here's a quick look at the packaging that she comes in. It's very straightforward. There she is in her cartoon-esque representation on the front. Transformers the movie, Takara Tomy. There she is on the side. On the back we have product shots, as we would expect to see. There she's in her car mode and in her robot mode rather. And it's the Battle of Autobot City. That is the diorama that we get. There she is again on that side. That's everything really for the packaging. There's not much else to say. And here's the figure itself. And yes, so the diorama, I've taken it out. Not everyone likes to use them or collect them or keep them. I personally do like to keep them, just because you never know. One day I might have enough space to actually have all of the Studio Series 86 and the other 86s, the other Studio Series figures out on display as well. But it's nice to have a little backdrop when we're looking at the figure itself. And here she is in all of her pink and white glory. Not that they're using colours to genderize the figure at all. First thing that screams to me is, does it need to be said? This backpack is something quite spectacular. Usually with Studio Series 86, they do an excellent job. Overall, they do an excellent job of producing the figures as screen accurately as possible, with some occasional variances, because you know what, there is science and engineering that needs to take place, and I get that. But this does seem a bit unfortunate, and I don't know that there's much they could have done about it, if I'm honest, because I think the design for the film was a little bit ambitious and didn't, and does depend entirely on magic in order to make it work. She does come with this blaster. Her arm falls off, so she's got battle damage. That isn't great, is it? Not a good start, considering I usually really have lots of positive things to say about Studio Series figures, but if she can't even keep a forearm on, that ain't great. Otherwise, posability is tremendous. I mean, she has the full range of motion, arms, legs, feet, etc. that you'd expect to see. There is some waist articulation, but of course not a huge amount, because she does sort of bash into this horrendous thing at the back. Now, I'll be honest, Arcee was one of the first Kingdom figures I actually picked up, because I didn't know back then we were going to be getting Studio Series 86. I wasn't re-inaugurated back into collecting Transformers, so I didn't know there'd be another one coming down the road, and I thought, oh wow, this is quite good. And so I've dug her out. I'm going to pop this one here just so she can stay in shot, but this is the one that came with Kingdom, and it's a slightly darker pink, and I honestly don't know which one I prefer. She has this, because what they've done here, we've still got some backpack, which is we have to accept there's an inevitability there, because if we're going to maintain the slender look of Arcee's on-screen persona, then all the kibble required for the car has to go somewhere. But they do produce this sort of almost Green Goblin or pink persona jet sled or battle sled or whatever you want to call it, that she can port into. Her foot will hold on to it. So that can be, it's just a little bit good at doing a death drop, I must admit. But it separates quite easily. It can be stored, I think, if I remember rightly, on the back. We're not going to faff with this because this isn't about Kingdom Arcee. But it was more just to sort of be able to say that there was a mechanism in the past where, and not that far in the past, where they were able to salvage a bit of that by being clever with the back package. But, side by side, they're not hugely different. I mean, you can see some difference around the shoulders. Definitely the backpack is a total remold. The face sculpt, I quite like both the face sculpts, to be honest. I think this one's giving a little bit more Princess Leia. And if you see it, you see it. If you don't, that's fine. It's possibly just me. But yeah, there are a lot of similarities. I believe, again, it was from a time before my collecting, that the Studio Series 86 Arcee is based on a thrilling 30s model. And that may be the case. It may not. I don't really know. I only know what I've purchased to go with my increasing Studio Series 86 line. But don't get me wrong, I do like the figure. I just think that backpack is an awful lot. It almost, if we're going to have it, it almost needs to have some sort of feature where you can tap something and some wings will sprout at the side, or the panels could be reused as wings just so it looks like a backpack or a glide. I don't know. I'm just saying words to try and justify this thing on the back of Arcee, which is quite heavy. But to be fair, she does pose and stand quite well with it, so there's no sense that it's tipping her centre of gravity too far back and making her unwieldy. But for robot mode, she looks like Arcee, she feels like Arcee. It's just a shame that she's got this very lengthy backpack that comes so far down, and does detract a bit, I think, from the overall silhouette of the figure. And this is one of the few Studio Series 86 figures that I've picked up where that actually is an issue. It's not, as I say, it's not a huge issue. I can live with it, but I'm mindful that it is a bit of an issue. Anyway, I'm going to transform her up now into her car mode, and I will feed back on how that is. For those of you who follow the channel, you'll know that I don't do the transformations on the camera. It's not a tutorial video. It's more of my personal experience of the transformation. So I may be coming back shortly, within seconds, all being well, for you, saying that was a really easy transformation, or I might be coming back saying, my God, that was one of the worst transformations I've ever experienced in my life, and I thought I was going to break it, blah, blah, blah. But to not subject you to the trauma that could be on its way for me, I'll be doing that off camera. So hopefully I'll be able to bring her back in her vehicle mode before you can say, I've got better things to do tonight than die. And we're back, and here is Arcee all transformed up into her vehicle mode. And yeah, okay, so this is a game of two halves really with this figure. The vehicle mode, which I quite like, don't get me wrong, it's quite sleek, it's quite nice. Her gun just fell out. I'm just going to show you. This is the underside. So again, it's very parts for me, although also quite yogery. There is a space here, very small slot there, I don't know if you can see that, where the handle of the gun, so I don't know how we're supposed to read into this psychologically, but the handle of the gun fits in there. That's her storage, allegedly. But yeah, I mean, it's a nice looking alt mode. It's true-ish to the on-screen persona. I don't like that there's these gaps here, either side of the front section there. I don't like that at all. There is some roll. She can roll. If I'm honest, she can roll, but these sections here at the side will not stay in. And I've tried everything, so it could be my copy. But for a Studio Series at all, Studio Series 86 in particular, it's very flimsy. It feels really flimsy. There's some lovely detailing. We've got the clear plastic, the Autobot logo on the front. We've got the controls here by the seats. All that's lovely. We've got all of that. I don't know. It looks nice, but it's kind of ineffectual. I get a real Pink Panther vibe from it. from the old 1970s, 80s cartoon version, which isn't a criticism as it goes. But it doesn't hold together terribly well, in case I'm doing something wrong. The instructions are really clear, and apart from a sort of a loose elbow joint, which you've already seen falling off, it holds together okay, as I say, apart from these bits which just don't seem to want to tab in, and I may well have inadvertently not done something fully right in the interest of just trying to get it transformed. But from what I can see, everything that is aligned to a tab that will align to a tab, so those gaps there seem to be by design, which I do find curious. Yeah, so it just feels a bit lightweight and not so dynamic, which is not quite the same for some of the other Studio Series 86 figures. So I feel like this is... I'm glad it's in my collection. It's not one I would possibly feel compelled to recommend. So if you do have the Kingdom Arcee, for example, stick with the Kingdom Arcee. Don't go chasing for this one. This is not one you need. Kingdom Arcee, in my view, is marginally better as a figure, as a toy, as a transformer. Is this one slightly more screen accurate for the film? To be honest, there's not a huge amount in it, and there certainly isn't, I wouldn't say for me, enough in it for me, if it was a different situation and if I was aware of this in advance, for me to then seek out Studio Series 8616 and add her to the collection. But you know what? I do have it in the collection. I'm glad, because Arcee is a key part of this film, so I'm glad I've got that gun does not want to stay in there, just so you're aware. But yeah, so it's you know, it is everything you see. So I wish I could say more. I'm not brimming with positivity, but it's not the worst figure in the world. But clearly you're getting the sense from me, I hope, that it's not the best. But you know what? Maybe that's just my experience with it, and if I have a few more experiences, it will improve. And I'll see what it looks like when I do some photography, just in case the photography element, and you know, it might be a bit more photogenic than I'm realizing as I'm mucking about with it. But anyway, thanks for spending the last 15 or so minutes with me. I hope you found this interesting. If you haven't already picked up Studio Series 8616, or you're trying to build your collection up, which is my approach, hopefully this has proven useful. Maybe you now go, actually, I can't wait to get one of these, or you're going, actually, it's a pass, I might go after the Kingdom one instead. You may have the Kingdom one and going, thank goodness I didn't fork out for an 8616 version. You know, but different strokes for different folks. So hopefully this has been helpful in some respect. And if you're just someone who's curious about what Transformers look like here in the 21st century, well, then stick around, check out the channel around Robo Reviews, and also the Studio Series 86 line. And there's plenty in there. I'm a bit behind in my collection of Studio Series 86 at the moment, so I'm going to try my utmost to try and to get up to date with those, because also there's a few more coming in down the pipeline, so I want to stay on top of it. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. Hopefully you'll have a look around the channel and you will see something else that takes your fancy. In the meantime, do drop a like to the channel if you've not already. A subscription would be amazing. You'll really help me get to my next milestone. I've been the time traveling toy collector. You've been a fantastic audience, and this has been Studio Series 8616 Arcee from Hasbro and Takara Tomy, and it just remains for me to say that a thing of beauty really is a toy forever. Bye bye for now.